potential short here on CL. Trading futures this morning. We'll trade options at market open. And we're about to get into manipulation time, so I have to be careful here. But I'm eyeing a break into this zone. Oh, we're starting to get pink candles. Okay. I'm going to take a tester here, guys. Let me just take one tester here. I'm going to put my stop loss at the top of the candle. So what made me think, hey, I want to get into this trade? Well, let's talk about it. Okay, let's talk about it. And if we continue down after this clock turns white, I'll probably add to the position. I'm pretty bearish on this position. So yeah, we're pushing into that zone. I'm actually going to break my rule a little bit, and I'm going to just get in. I'm going to add another position here. Okay, so why are we in this trade? Let's talk about it. First things first, you got a red background, okay? Red background. The bears have been in control the last 15 minutes, okay? So you got a red background. Very easy to see, okay? Very, very simple and easy to see. The second thing is we've gone from bright green candles and green candles, which is upside data candles. The Maverick AI Pro colors your candles to the data, not to price and direction. See, let me zoom out here, guys. Let me show you. Okay, bright green is your strongest upside data candle. Hot pink is your strongest downside data candle. Of course, this is 1 in the morning, but if we look at let's take a look at yesterday's action. Yeah, this is a great example here. Let me get rid of my drawing tool. Let me come up like this. Okay, if you see pink, it will most likely sink. Pink is your strongest downside data candle. If you see bright green, it might just fly right off your screen. Okay, the Maverick AI Pro colors your candles. Think of it like a heat map. And it's coloring your candles to the severity of the data that we're seeing. If you see pink, it will most likely sink. If you see bright green, it might just fly right off your screen. These are huge moves. I'm just squishing my chart to get it all in here. So pretty good stuff. So let's go back here. Let me sort this out. Get back to here. Okay, so we got a red background. The bears are in control, and they've been in control for the last probably 15 minutes or so. And we have hot pink candles. If you see pink, it will most likely sink. I'm actually going to add to my position here, guys. Okay, and then I'm not going to add anything more. If you see pink, it will most likely sink. Pink is your strongest downside data candle. The Maverick radar, squish this in so you can see the Maverick radar. The Maverick radar is giving us an A+ setup to the upside. It goes through our entire checklist of everything we're looking for. Well, most things. It goes through your entire checklist of the things we look for from many of our indicators, and then it grades each one. And it's essentially going to say, hey, you either have no setup, you have a B setup, or you have an A setup, okay? And right now, it's saying you have an A setup on futures, okay, on oil to the downside. See how there's a little down arrow, it's red. I think anybody can figure that out if you saw it. So we have an A+ setup. Imagine having a trading assistant right here on your chart, being your eyes. The example I always give is, how many times have you been very, very sure of a trade? You get into it, you get stopped out, you go back, and you're like, what was I even thinking? What was I even thinking? Well, let the Maverick radar be your eyes. Let it look here and grade and tell you, do you even have a grade? Okay. Now, another thing is all 5 traders here. Okay, all 5 traders on the Maverick Multi-X. Let me squish this down, guys, just so we can see it a little bit easier. I know a lot of you guys watch on your phones and stuff like that. But all 5 traders are voting bearish across 6 time frames here. So think of T1 through T5. They're algorithms, but think of T1 through T5 as traders. And they all have a completely different style, and they're voting across 6 time frames. Imagine if I put you in the room with 5 other traders who all have a completely different style, and they were all saying, hey buddy, we're bearish on the 1 minute, the 2 minute, the 3 minute chart, the 5 minute chart, the 10 minute chart, the 15 minute chart, and you can change these time frames to whatever you want. If you're a swing trader, if you're a scalper, whatever it is. Would that give you more confidence to get into this trade? I think it would. I think it would. And then the Maverick Trender. Maverick Trender's pegged to the top down here. When this line is flat line, we call these flat lines. Flat tops, rather. When you have a flat top down here, that wasn't a very flat drawing I did. When you have a flat top down here, you get this downtrend label. If it's red, of course. If it's green, you get an uptrend label. And it's showing massive strength and momentum to the upside or the downside. And this is, you know, middle of the night action. But if I go to like yesterday, look at these moves. Flat top, regular, you know, this is yesterday's afternoon. Look at this flat top. It went from here all the way to here. This would pay a lot of people's mortgage every single month. Flat top from here to here. Here to here, okay? Huge move. I mean, just massive move from here to here. Whew, huge move. So anyway, very, very cool. When it's green, it's to the upside. When it's red, it's to the downside. And if you look right now, what do we got? We got a flat top forming. You have hot pink candles, all right? Let's talk about the Maverick zones. This is auto drawing your support and resistance zones. We no longer have to draw our zones. Hang on, guys. You know, I like to close it out if we hit 1,000. We no longer have to draw our zones. And not only does it draw our zones, look, this one's big, this one's smaller, this one's a little bit bigger. It draws it by probability, not just where price was, but it's running this whole formula to understand where should the zone be by probability, and then how big should it be. This one's much bigger than, say, this one, right? And as you get closer to the zone, it gives you this probability score, price holding or breaking. Hang on one second, guys. I feel like we're going to fly down. I'll close it if we hit 1,000. And anything less than 90% is game for breaking. Anything greater than 90% is like a brick wall. And like you could be a fast car. When that 200-mile-an-hour car hits that wall, it's either going to bounce or it's going to flatten out, right? Hang on one second, guys. Let me just get ready to close this trade. Boom. There you go. $1,000. On that trade, great example of how these indicators work and the power of the clarity. Now look, whoops, wrong tool. I just grabbed the wrong tool. Sorry about that. Now look, you got a 43 score. You got a 54 score. What did I tell you? Anything less than 90% is game for breaking. But a zone is a zone is a zone is a zone. We still need to respect it. Look, it's turning red right now. Man, I got out. That's okay. I'd rather hit, you know, base hits than home runs, right? Okay. There's still orders that need to be chewed at the top and bottom of these zones, right? Well, really all throughout, but you get my point. So even though we have a low score, we may still hit a little friction before we can break it, okay? So anything less than 90% game for breaking, you're running into a 42 and a 52. Come on, okay? So listen, red background, the bears are in control. Hot pink candles. If you see pink, it will most likely sink. Pink is your strongest downside data candle. The Maverick AI Pro turns your candles into a heat map. You got a really low score here. I'd be shocked if we didn't break through this zone here soon. You got an A+ setup on the Ultimate Trading Assistant, going through your entire checklist of everything we look for from our indicators and grading those things and saying you either don't have a setup, you have a B setup, or you got an A setup. And we've had an A+ setup this entire time, and all 5 traders were voting bearish across 6 time frames. Guys, we're stacking probability in our favor. That's all it is, stacking probability with these tools, okay? And by the way, the Maverick Trender is not let up. You've had a flat top. Oh my gosh, see? I'm not a psychic. It's just we have really good tools, okay? And look, you're pushing right into here. All right, so listen, if you want clear vision on your charts, if you want some edge in the market, all our indicators in the Ultimate Edge Bundle work on NinjaTrader and TradingView. But if you want some edge in the market, if you want clear vision on your charts, not financial advice, do your own research, never any guarantees in any market, right? We know that. But come check us out, all right? MaverickIndicators.com. That's MaverickIndicators.com.